Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the BumbleKing, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
We're here to help you get over that Wednesday bump. Is that it? That's right.
Yep.
We're gonna get you over that Wednesday bump. We're gonna give you a nice good shove right over it with some answers to some of your questions, because that's what we do on this show.
Yep. Today's episode is all standard Q&A coming from the Discord or from email. So if you've been patiently waiting, now your patience is being rewarded.
Your patience is paid off. Not literally. We're not paying you. If anything, some of you are paying us. Anyway, let's get into this first question here from Mike B. I really hate to pry, but I gotta know. When you get these notes, quote unquote, from Sega about whatever they don't want in the comics, is it because they don't want that kind of stuff shown, or do they outright not want it to be part of the setting? I.e., Sonic's world not having money.
It's to keep things on brand. They have a particular vision for the series, and anything that goes against that vision needs to be corrected. So the issue is that it's been inconsistent over the years, both in direction and for us and direction from the series itself, which I can kvetch about all I want, but it's not really going to change anything. And I probably should, back off on that a little bit. Don't bite the hand that feeds, as they say. But it's, there's nothing, I don't know why notes is in quotation mark, because that's what it is. It's notes. Here's the script. Any notes on it? Yeah, don't do this. Okay, revise. And there you go.
But Ian, you control it all. You control the brand. My brand.
If I was in control of the Sonic brand, you think I'd be doing this show?
Thought you were going to say something else for a second.
If I had that kind of money, do you think I would be getting by on Patreon? No, sir.
I have never claimed to be a journalist. All right, here's a question from Reverie. How familiar are you with these Shogakukan? What? I've never had to actually pronounce this word out loud, so. How familiar are you with the Shogakukan Sonic manga, or any of the Sonic manga for that matter? Do you recall the first time you discovered it? As a Tokyo resident going on 12 years, I've been able to go to the National Diet Library to get printouts of almost all of the digitized copies of this, and so far, I haven't found many people who are particularly interested in learning more about this rendition of Sonic. I'm surprised by this because there are many fans I've met online who prefer the Japanese interpretation of him. Is it the language barrier that's a problem on why it doesn't connect with people? What do you think?
To have someone with a reliable source of digital scans. Number one, where have you been all my life?
Yeah.
And number two, who isn't interested in this? Are there Sonic fans who have literally said, I don't care? Would you... Man, when I was growing up, we would have given blood for this kind of information.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
A pound of flesh, I'll carve you out 3. 1 per page. All right, I need to lose weight anyway. Gimme. So yeah, I don't understand. I literally cannot understand how you've received any kind of tepid response to that kind of information. Is it uploaded anywhere? Do you have a link? Please, by all means, share with the class.
Yeah, it just, a lot of it just never left Japan. I think that's probably why there's not as much interest,
which should make it all the more intriguing.
Right, exactly.
If somebody's making a dedicated effort to share this with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
All right.
For anybody wondering, I believe this was the manga that introduced a lot of the early concepts of Sonic before certain things were even actually formally introduced, like Amy. I believe this is where Amy first appeared before Sonic CD. And Vector, I think, is also in there, and a few others. Charmy, also, I believe. So it's a few. It's a bunch of different concepts that are very early, that were much earlier than originally thought.
Like Sonic's family, the Veruca family, for pity's sake.
Right. Yep.
I am not an expert on it by any means. What I know is like all secondhand at best, folks doing fan translations of what little information has trickled out. But I would eat it up. I want to know everything. I don't speak a word of Japanese, but just having the pretty pictures would be nice. So by all means, please educate me. I would love to see this stuff, and good on you for taking the initiative and getting and chronicling this information with the potential to share it with other people. I don't understand why others don't want it, but no, that's super cool of you. And
I think I don't know, maybe it's just people were just, they don't know about it. That's kind of
there is that,
thing.
Sure.
And it's just like, it's not, the whole thing hasn't been seen previously, right? It's just been little things here and there. It's just a lost little bit of Sonic media. So I'm glad someone was able to find it. I do appreciate the National Diet Library. It's like half the calories of a normal library.
Same great flavor though.
Oh, good. I'm glad. That's got to be something else. It's got to be not, what we think of as diet. Anyway, here's a question from Yami M. You sometimes mention that Sega doesn't like you referencing quote-unquote old material from the games. What constitutes quote-unquote old in terms of the modern side of the brand, and is there a specific cutoff year? Do releases and new appearances of old characters in newer games, including mobile ones, take them out of the quote-unquote old hole, or is it more complicated than that?
There is no defined safe period. It's just they don't like us referencing previous games. That's everything that's come out before. And they don't particularly like us referencing new releases. So you have to try to catch that nice little middle ground where it's not a new release anymore, but it isn't too old.
They don't like you mentioning Sonic. I think that's what it boils down to.
I think the underlying concern is they don't want confusion between the brands, and they don't want the comic to necessarily have to be.
I get it. It just sounds funny when you put it that way. At the same time,
we have to follow game canon, because if we go too far afield, if the games introduce something that contradicts it, the comics have to realign. Now, granted, this is probably a holdover from a much earlier time when a licensed book like Sonic wasn't expected to last more than a year.
Right.
The Sonic books in and of themselves are an oddity. So, I don't know, that I would expect something like that might shift as we go forward, but for now, that's what I'm working under. I will be very happy if that policy changes.
I feel like Sonic himself is kind of an anomaly in that he managed to survive the 90s glut of mascot platformers. It's rare. Like Mario was kind of grandfathered in because he was like amongst the first.
Yeah.
But then Sonic came along, and then a whole bunch of other clones came along, but Sonic managed to stick around. Sonic has staying power, I think, that the other characters just didn't.
Like Sonic has a very accessible style and has a very distinct style.
Yeah.
Like, let's say, I don't know, Era the Acrobat. Very distinct gameplay style, but also notoriously hard. So that kind of limits your audience. Sonic is very forgiving when you get down to some of the core gameplay. I mean, there's some hard stuff, don't get me wrong, but the fact that you can continually pick up health, if you've got one ring, you can usually endure. And you're all about the speed and the momentum and using the flow of the level to do cool stuff. That's all super accessible. What else, came out of the time? What was the gameplay of Jazz Jackrabbit? What did he
Sonic
do?
with a gun and no rolling. That's yeah.
Yes, like there's a lot of these platforming mascots who came out that were just jump on thing, because that's what Mario was. And that's part of what Sonic has, sure, but Sonic had that distinct flow to it that I don't think a lot of others did. They just tried to ape the run right, jump on thing, add gimmick.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why Sonic stands out, is that he had a defined identity at the time.
Yes. He actually has a defined character. Like he has a personality. And his personality is not so edgy that it's that it makes parents cringe in fear. But it's also just edgy enough for kids to think he's cool. Sonic's appeal kind of has ended up being universal. He can be easily put into certain things. He can be made to fit in certain things. It's why there's like a surprisingly large religious contingent of fans of Sonic, because you can just kind of put him in anything and it'll work. And you know, he's good, clean fun for the kids. That's the whole point. All right, here's a question from Lazy Strawberry. Would Silver eventually have found out that Mogul is not good? Was Mogul truly redeemed, or did he play Silver like a pawn?
We will get into all that with Lost Hedgehog Tales, which will come out one day before the heat death of the universe. I promise that much.
Okay. Will it be before the heat death of Ian Flynn?
That I can't guarantee.
Okay, it might be a post-mortem sort of thing. Post-mortem of the author, not of the comic. All right, here we go. Here's one from Hector S. Can I just ask you to ramble about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood for a second? For a bit. Favorite character / arc / moment?
Oh God, all of them.
Okay, yeah,
all of the above.
This is all you, buddy. I don't know anything about FMA.
It's exquisite. Like, I can't think of anything bad about it at all. There's like no critique to be had. It's just this masterfully, exquisitely crafted story from start to finish. Like, where to even begin? Like I've said before, it is the bar that I try to reach with anything I do and feel like I will always fall short on. It's like every character has a purpose, small or large, and everything knits itself together by the end in just clever and exciting ways. We went through the anime again, Brotherhood specifically, not too long ago, and I had forgotten some of the beats because it's a long story and a lot happens. And, you know, things are coming together. I'm like, well, I know that this character is free and able to do such and such later, but how do they get out of this? And then, you know, everything comes together. It's like, oh yeah, that's so smart. That's so cool. Or, you know, characters are imperiled and I know that they're going to come out all right, but it's still exciting. It's like, I know this is going to be a close call, but oh, it's so good. And this was like one of Studio Bones's earlier projects, I think. And it's still gorgeous. Like, you know how you go back to some older anime and, you know, the action was impressive for what they could do at the time, but it's clearly aged. Not here. I mean, sure, Studio Bones can do some crazy stuff now, but this is still just immaculate. Like the fight between Bradley and Greed in like the final chapter. Oh my God, that alone is just crazy. And see, if you're like Kyle and you haven't experienced it yet, I don't want to spoil anything because the whole thing is just fantastic. And Brotherhood is an almost shot for shot perfect recreation of the manga. They drop a few things here and there for the sake of time, which makes perfect sense, but nothing crucial. And the opening episode, which brings in an original villain just so that there's kind of an action beat to start things off, still fits within the universe. It doesn't do anything to undermine the story. It doesn't contradict anything. It all works. And it starts you off with the tone and the rules of the universe. And it's just, if you can find the manga, by all means read it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's only 29 volumes, I think.
Only, so he says.
It's, I mean, try to buy everything from Dragon Ball.
Well, yeah.
You know? Or if you don't want to track that down, watch the anime. Like, I can straight up recommend the anime, English or Japanese. The English cast is excellent as well. And the show is incredibly faithful to the manga. So it's not like you're getting a different version. You're just basically getting it animated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's animated so well. It's just, it's kind of like, you've seen Breaking Bad, right?
This seems like a trick question. Because even I don't know why it seems like a trick question, because I haven't seen it. No, but I am familiar. Okay. Here's the thing. I'm familiar enough with it to probably understand what you're going to go for.
Okay, well, with Breaking Bad, the ending is one of the most satisfying in television history because everything wraps up in a satisfying way.
Right.
There's one element of it that I feel like is a trifle contrived, but I will give it to them because it ties a bow on everything in a way that feels like it fits with what has been presented before. And Full Metal is like that, but on an even larger scale, given the size of the cast and the scope of what is being achieved here.
Wow.
So it's like everything gets addressed and put together, and it's just satisfying. Like, the whole thing is just very well put together. And, you know, who's your favorite character? I literally can't pick. Like, I don't even think there's a character I don't like. There isn't anybody who's like, I wouldn't mind if they got dropped from the story. Like, everyone serves a role. And even if they're annoying to begin with or an absolute heel, they either are really cool as a villain or they grow as a character and as part of the narrative to serve a function. And you're like, oh, you're now kind of a fun supporting cast member. I just, the ending, man, like everything else builds to this final confrontation, which is, when you get down to it, really, really long. Like, there are multiple stages of endgame here where you're thinking, okay, this is where they have to be wrapping up. Oh no, here's the twist. But it keeps going and building, and got the siege on the Capitol, man. Everything about that, from the train to the radio broadcast to the propaganda that they're throwing out in real time. And it's just a great story that is put together exquisitely, and you need to watch, you need to read, you need to consume it somehow. Do not, under any circumstances, watch the original anime, however. Now, I know it has its fans, and if you enjoyed it, I'm glad you did. But it is wrong. It was done before the manga was completed, so it goes up to a point and then starts doing its own thing, and it gets weird. And, you know, I can't judge it objectively as its own story because I hold the original to such a high standard that anything that goes against that is wrong. It is blasphemy. I will not have that in my house, sir. Good day. But Brotherhood, or the original manga, is just so good. Just study it, read it, watch it, dissect it, see what is so great about it, and just,
It's kind of surprising to hear someone who, as a creator, as someone who writes, someone say that it is something is beyond criticism. Like, I mean, you more than anyone, being a writer, you know, you can usually see more of the flaws and stuff. So saying that something is, you can't criticize something, there's nothing you can critique about something, is like, okay, that's like high. That's high. That's kind of high praise. I mean,
if you sat me down with the intention of going in, I'm sure I could find places where, okay, this is a bit convenient, or
right, but they don't stick out to you.
No, like anything that I would find would have to be actively looking for nits to pick.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way that elements in the very beginning come to fruition at the very end, the amount of plotting and planning to make sure everything came together as it did is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And it's done, and it's not done in a necessarily convoluted way. It's not overly complicated, really. Like, if you go down to just the basics of the story beats, it's pretty straightforward, and one thing builds upon another. This mystery is introduced and then solved, and this element here influenced that element there. It all makes enough sense. But when you step back and you look at the full intricacies of it,
mm-hmm.
and realize somebody had to not only make that work, but in a mangaka schedule.
Yeah.
Just, it's kind of like the big reveal towards the end when they show off that big old transmutation circle. It's like, oh, it was there all along. Oh God, how? Just if you haven't consumed it yet, by all means, please
consume.
Do it. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. Of course, Netflix is kind of different region to region, but it's out there. It's easy enough to find. Just do yourself a favor. Block out a long weekend and just go for it. It's so good. It's so freaking good. That and the original, like, each season has a different intro song. The season 1's first intro is banging. It is like one of the best songs ever. Period. Bar none.
Nice. The chat brings up an example that I agree with, because it sounds like similar. With Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, you can nitpick that all day, and there are certainly some points in it where it's not like, the best amazing thing, but taken as a whole full product, it's like it's really good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
like Avatar, I would have an easier time with, because season 1's a bit slow. Season 3 is a bit rushed. And
yeah. Things
has weird priorities, but yeah, overall, Aang's adventure is kind of like that. It's a fantastic story.
Right. Yep. Definitely. I understand. I haven't seen it, but I understand. Let's get into this next question here from Tayulanin SFD. Moving away from all the Sega-related rules about mentioning certain characters, would Dr. Starline be just an Eggman fan, or would he also like Gerald in some way?
We actually did that question last week. So head over to BumbleKing.com and look at the Q&A master list to get the link for that specific episode and see exactly how that question was worded. Normally we just kind of cycle out questions that have been already answered, but we just did this one. And, if you're waiting in the queue, there's no way that you can really adjust that. So check out the master list and get your answer there.
All right. Here's a question from Colin B. To all it may concern, will IDW Sonic ever have his own official chili dog recipe, like how Archie Sonic had one from all those years ago? I'd love to make both and compare.
That is a neat idea. I think you should contact the Twitter feed and let the marketing team know that that's what you want to see, because I think that would be the kind of thing they would jump over. I mean, if they gave us a toaster and a pizza cutter, by all means, they should come up with a chili recipe.
The Sonic marketing team, right? Not the
yes,
not the IDW marketing team.
No. I think this should be taken straight to the source.
Yeah, let's make it official.
Like, I could almost see Katie doing like a whole video on this or something. This could be big. So plant that seed over in their fertile ground and see what grows.
I'm ready. Chili cooking contest. Yes. Here's a question from Commander Proton. What are things you've written, Archie or IDW, that Sega had a very negative reaction to? Were you ever worried that you did something that would cause you to lose favor with them?
No, not really. I do remember that when we did the Mobius 30 Years Later arc in Universe, the Shadow arc beforehand was hit with a lot of notes on Shadow's characterization, which kind of caught us by surprise. It was more heavily regulated than anything else we had done up to that point because it was being treated as a new title. Never mind, it was the same production house. Never mind, it was the same creative team. It was a new book, so it needs extra scrutiny. So we figured, all right, a future arc with, all what if scenarios should be easy, right? And the note came back, you can't show the characters as having gotten married, having kids, or have grown old. And it's like, well, you let us do that for all of this period. What happened? And we got special permission to do that arc. And that's why that was the end of the future storylines. But that was the only one that I can really think of where the note was just no. Anything else, like I've said this on the show before too, where in the beginning of the Shadowfall arc, we were going to have, or I pitched that Nephilis and Black Doom came back via timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly nonsense. And they said, no, they're dead. It's like, all right, well, we'll just come up with something else. And we came up with Eclipse, and that was far better than the original idea. But in terms of just like straight up negative reaction, nah. Like, there's never been a note coming back with, if Ian pitches this again, fire him.
How dare you?
I know better than to try to cross that kind of line, and I don't think I've managed to make any enemies at Sega Japan to warrant that.
Sega has snapped. Oh no. They're going crazy.
Of course, if that ever did happen, then that would basically be it for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
If Sega said, yeah, we don't want Ian anymore, boop, that's it, I'm gone.
Yep.
That's a terrifying thought.
Well, now some people are going to be like, ooh, how can we make that happen?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Here's a question from Miles T. Prower. Good old Tails is back with another question. Says, hey there, Ian. I was curious if you had any plans for the Wolf twins, Lita and Lyko, back in Archie. Now, I'm not asking for any specific details. A simple yes or no will do the trick. I'm just asking because they were the most bland characters from the Secret Freedom Fighters, so I wanted to know if there was more to them.
This one I'm going to defer to Lost Hedgehog Tales again, mostly to buy time because I don't remember. But surely we will find out together when I review my notes and get that out there. I don't imagine that they would be gone, but I can't imagine they would have had high priority either because they were, lower tier supporting characters. I honestly don't remember though.
All right, here's a question from Corey S. Do you also feel that Hershey's presumed death plotline was badly timed, seeing how she never returned in Sonic the Hedgehog number 237 and would be removed for good due to what happened back from 2010 to 2013? I feel that would be the case since now Hershey will pretty much now be known as the dead wife of a traitor to a kingdom, as she could have been a more developed RSS agent character. But what do you think?
Yeah, it was badly timed in that you can't foresee the future. Like, the plan was, and this should be Lost Hedgehog Tales, but we're going to just straight up say it here. The plan was she was going to be Agent Queen. Like, Lita and Lyko were the fill-in. She was going to be Agent Queen, and that was going to be one of the subplots, is that she faked her death to get in closer and figure out what's going on, and blah, 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 blah. We had plans. But as things fell apart behind the scenes, she was kind of the first casualty of the rights battle. So what was meant to be a red herring that would be followed up on with a surprise reveal became an unfortunate plot point. But there is literally nothing I could have done to plan around that because I got blindsided by all that.
Alrighty. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with more BumbleKast. This is more questions and more answers. Starting with this one from Maximal Exceed. My question is regarding your very previous work in Archie, but it is also about a Master Mogul event where he is destroying the multiverse. Well, in said comic, it is mentioned that he is destroying the different multiversal zones, and at a certain moment, a reference is made to a Tales from Another Multiverse. So that was just a way of calling the zones, or universes at that moment, or were other multiverses really shown before the crossover with Mega Man? I would love you to answer my question, and if you read this, I want you to know that I'm still your fan from Archie to IDW. Respect.
Thank you very much. I'd have to go back and reread that. That was not one of my stories. That was well before my time. But from what I recall, zones were counted as dimensions. Like zones was as a term was being used for different universes. So that would be that regard. But you're saying that they said there were tales beyond the standard multiverse?
I don't know.
I don't remember that. But if that's the case, then I don't know what it was intended to reference, because again, it was well before my time, and once the Chosen One / Master Mogul thing was resolved, I didn't really want to touch it again outside of make up for squandered potential. So, or, actually address what was in the canon. So I don't know, really, when you get down to it. But if you want to take it as a reference to the Archie crossover as it would one day be, have fun with that. Make that your headcanon. I ain't going to argue with you.
Here's a question from Tony C. During a discussion involving kangaroos on TV tropes, we noticed that Walt Wallaby from the Archie Sonic books has a pouch, despite being a male Wallaby. Only female ones have that. Is it acceptable to read him as a trans character, or just a silly mistake from part of the artists?
I mean, legitimately, I'm sure it was just a silly mistake. It was just, kangaroos and wallabies, they have pouches.
Let's give him a pouch.
I'm not going to research that.
And I mean, it's also, could just be the differences of Mobian genetic makeup versus real life Earth genetic makeup. But still, yeah.
But, if you want to say Walt was trans, then sure, go for it. I ain't going to argue with you.
Yeah, why not? Whatever. It's up to you. Here's a question from Golden Lighting. I asked this question before, but it got twisted into another fan's inquiry and wasn't answered. Whoop, sorry about that. Would Blaze kill the whole Sonic cast to save the world? This means Blaze willingly shortening the lifespans of Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, everyone associated with Sonic, just to save the world. Like, for example, in Sonic 06, Blaze knew the Chaos Emeralds. She got a scene focusing on her when Blue Hedgehog was mentioned. She didn't seem as surprised by her venture into the past as Silver. She knew how to use the emeralds. She was never around when trying to kill Sonic. I think Blaze experienced Sonic Rush prior and was willing to kill Sonic despite that encounter. This makes me think of her differently. Would Blaze kill the whole Sonic cast to save the world?
Number one, no.
It's a little brutal.
Number two, you really have to throw out Sonic 06's story. It's very badly written. 3, we've covered this on the show a few times. The whole Blue Hedgehog thing is poor localization.
Yeah.
The blue in the kanji used specifically for blue can be translated as either naive or what was it? Blue or naive. There we go. That just particular word can be translated multiple ways. And one of the things that they were really pushing with Silver was that he was naive. So whenever Blaze is reflecting on this blue thing, it's not that she's thinking of Sonic. She's thinking about how the vision is of a blue hedgehog, but was it really about a naive hedgehog causing the end of the world? That distinction is completely lost in English. So that aspect we can kind of toss aside. That, and it's not 100% clear, but it seems to be implied that 06 is a prequel to Rush, and that Blaze is supposed to turn into Burning Blaze when she absorbs Iblis and goes into another dimension, thus leading into Rush, which really doesn't make a ton of sense. 06 overall is a wash. really. It retcons itself out of existence. It's a very poorly put together time travel story, and it doesn't fit with the greater canon. So overall, I'd say just kind of forget 06 because it's not going to impact the canon going forward. And it was kind of bad overall.
Sorry, 06 fans, but yeah.
I mean, the music is great.
That's about all that game has going for it, really.
And I would still pay a shiny nickel to see any concept designs for Metal Sonic in the 06 style, because we were going to get him.
Right.
We knew that was somewhere in the works. I don't know if it got beyond the planning stages, but I just want to see it for the novelty of it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Would Blaze kill? I mean, probably. Would she kill Sonic and friends? Maybe.
Like, we know Blaze would go that far because in Sonic Rush, she was going to off Eggman.
Right.
No hesitation.
And she should have, probably.
Yeah. But, Sonic was actively in her way at that point, and I'd have to see the scene again. But I think it was just a matter of initiating that boss fight that she was just going to stop him so that she could move on and do her thing. I don't think she was going to take him out, even though in that context, he was just as much a problem as Eggman was in her eyes. Since then, I imagine she's mellowed out a fair bit. So she's definitely decisive. Yeah. She would get things done. But I don't think she would go so far as to kill whole swaths of people for the greater good. That doesn't jive with me. Or what little has been presented thus far. And if you want to interpret 06 as a sequel to, or at least coming after Rush, she absolutely would not kill Amy and Cream for the greater good. She wouldn't. The fact that she doesn't interact with anybody in the main cast outside of Sonic is kind of telling, in that she's being compartmentalized for weird reasons. I don't think there was a clear game plan, and if there was, it was not executed well.
Well, that doesn't sound like anything Sonic related at all. How out of character. Here's a question from Certified Nobody. According to the Sonic Wiki, the Sonic Heroes PC files and Cream's game dialogue refer to the golden shields Tails and Knuckles have as their super forms. Does this count as canon? And if you were able to include Super Tails and Super Knuckles, do you think you would have to stick with the golden shields? Or do you think you would be able to give them their standard looks after Sonic Mania and the upcoming Origin collection reestablished their standard superform look?
I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I would want something better for them than just a golden shield.
Yeah, that's the most lame superform in existence.
Like, I distinctly remember getting to that point in Heroes and being hyped, because here we go, Super Knuckles and Super Tails at long last, and they get shields.
Yeah. And
then Salt on the Wound 06, Sonic gives super forms to Shadow and Silver, and they go full legitimate super. That pissed me off more than it probably should have.
No, you were probably well justified.
It ain't right, man. It ain't right.
It ain't.
So if number one, if we could get modern Super Knuckles or Super Tails approved, I'd want to see something at least closer to the classic look. That kind of glowing body. They're so luminous that they're just kind of like a lighter color, but I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Only male hedgehogs can go super. Everyone else gets disappointment. It is very disappointing. You got to remember that Sonic Mania and the Origins collection, those are all classic. So their super forms seem to be classic available, but not modern available, which is weird and dumb, and I don't like it.
That, and the feeling I get is that everyone's super forms are kind of still only like semi-canon, not really
right
in the classic, that it's like a what if scenario, but I can't say that for certain.
Yeah, well, what if was canon in my heart. All right, here's a question from Dick. It seems that your communication with Sega is limited to quick questions and answers or notes passed to them. Have you ever thought about having a meeting with the Sega reps that deal with the comics and just sitting down and mapping out a bunch of stuff at once to clear things up? Do you think such a thing would be productive in the scope of creating the book long term, or at least enlightening?
We kind of do that. It's not something that I can initiate. That would be something for IDW to organize. But what I've done previously and what Evan and I have done previously / are doing now is we do pitch the next year's worth of material to Sega is all one thing. That they get a roadmap of what we want to do in the grand scheme of things, and that gets notes on it. And we revise from there. And once that's approved, then we go into the script phase. So it's not like we're pitching scripts blindly at them. They know what we want to do overall. And having one big sit-down meeting is not necessarily any different than sending them all the ideas and then they send back their notes. I mean, sure, in a meeting, we would be able to potentially argue a point or pitch an idea more than just text, but that's still the same thing of they have to evaluate and decide whether or not they like it. So it wouldn't make that big of a change. There was the one different thing is that when IDW first launched, we did have a big meeting of IDW and Sega folks to get the book off the ground, and I pitched year one to that group. But even that, it was approved kind of at the table, but there were further revisions as time went on. So it's not like that meeting set everything for the year to go. Some things changed along the way. So I don't really particularly see it as necessary. The system that we have works.
Alrighty. Here's one from John, the real Waluigi. I didn't know John's real name, or Waluigi's real name was John, but hey, good to know. I heard about the Super Mario comic you pitched to Nintendo about a few years ago, and it seemed to have looked really promising. Would you ever reconsider pitching another comic idea like that to Nintendo again?
Oh, sure. If anybody's out there who has managed to break down that wall and they want me to pitch, by all means, I'm all over it.
If anyone's got an uncle that works at Nintendo, let Ian know. Here's a question from Godzilla. If Sonic is Goku, Shadow is Vegeta, and Silver is Trunks, does this make Amy Brawly?
It makes Amy Kale.
I don't understand. Did we get to Kale in Abridged? Because I don't think we did.
Oh, no, sir.
No, okay. Because this reference goes over my head.
Yeah. For the uninitiated, well after what we saw, sir, in Dragon Ball Super, the sequel series to Dragon Ball Z, the ending arc was a multiverse tournament. And one of the contenders was a Saiyan woman from another dimension who was named Kale and whose traits were very, very reminiscent of Broly, who was a movie exclusive character from years before. Like, she was basically kind of a nudge wink Easter egg type of thing. And I imagine her popularity probably prompted the Broly movie, which introduced the canon version of Broly. But suffice to say, a green tinge to the whole Super Saiyan thing and just ludicrous muscle power.
Okay, yeah, she looks familiar now. I recognize. I recognize most Dragon Ball Z characters. That style is very distinctive. Then again, you could also confuse them with Dragon Quest characters. So sometimes there's a difference, but yeah.
I mean, arguably her fusion with Caulifla would be more Broly-esque, but now we're getting into like super nerdy Dragon Ball stuff. And even then it doesn't apply because Amy can't go buff Super, which is sad.
Rude. That is very rude. I hate that.
I mean, if anything, the sole major female character with some gadgets, that makes her more of a Bulma. But Tails is the genius, so the one-to-ones don't go that far.
Buff Amy. Yeah, I'm into it. Sure, why not? Let's do it. And we have a question here from big Sonic fan Patrick. Ian, have you heard of the theory that Mephiles the Dark purposefully was trying to reset the timeline by becoming Solaris the way he did? This theory stems from the fact that he could have logically time traveled at any point he desired, but he chose to manipulate things specifically so Sonic and Princess Elise would end up blowing out the flame that caused the Solaris project to head into disaster, thus resetting the game timeline. Do you think his manipulation of events came from him having used his powers to spy on everyone for years? This would mean he was active in the background longer than we initially thought.
I think that's fans desperately trying to patch the holes in a badly written script.
Yeah.
Nothing about Mephiles' actions would add up to that. He swears vengeance against Shadow for being trapped in the Scepter of Darkness. He sets Silver out to kill Sonic, and when Silver doesn't, he does the job. The idea that the game's events are Mephiles actively trying to undo himself, no, that doesn't hold water for me. Solaris, at its original point, as just this kind of emotionless flame of power, was his base state of being, and it was only because foolish humans meddled with things they should not have is what gave Mephiles his form and his thought. The fact that he could time travel and have done anything that he wanted to do is the problem with time travel stories. He didn't need to enlist Silver as a hitman from the future. He could have gone back to right when Elise was infused with Iblis and kicked her in the shins until she cried. Boom, there you go. That's the end of the story. That's one of the major problems with Sonic 06. It's just badly written. If that is your headcanon to make it more palatable, then I ain't going to argue with you. If that's how you want to interpret and to enjoy it, knock yourself out. But taking it as like an actual canon interpretation, no. It's just a mess when you get down to it.
Right.
Big Sonic fan Patrick has a question for you, Kyle.
Oh.
Do you think that the Egg Reverie theme would be a perfect fit for Excalibur Sonic versus Meta Knight in a Super Smash Brothers battle if it were possible?
Sure. Why not? I'm down. That sounds good to me. What do you think, Ian?
I dig it.
Yeah.
I kind of think Excalibur Sonic outclasses Meta Knight a fair bit, but
well, this is Smash. Everyone's kind of balanced.
All right.
Everyone's more balanced than they probably usually otherwise would be. So, it could work. It can work. It has worked. I mean, well, okay, Excalibur Sonic doesn't exist in Smash, but we don't need another sword wielder. But yeah, sure, why not? I'm into it. I mean, you could probably throw any of the Black Knight tracks in there. Sonic and the Black Knight. There's also a really good what is it? There's a really good arrangement from Overclocked Remix's Kirby Superstar album by Sixto Sounds. So, and that particular track would be perfect. Yeah, it's called The Savior of Dreamland. You can find it on OC Remix, ocremix.org. And it's a remix of the Coliseum battle from Kirby Superstar. And it is just fan-freaking-tastic. It has a very much it has a very anthemic sound to it, for sure. It has a wonderful flamenco intro. It works. It's perfect. That would be awesome. That would be an awesome fight. Song for a Smash Brothers fight. So I like that one too.
I'm just imagining Caliburn wielding Sonic gets added to Smash. He's a blue-haired sword wielder. Somehow he just manifests into Fire Emblem because that's how the universe has to balance.
Sonic is in Fire Emblem now. Why not? Why the hell not? And he's also a romanceable character.
No, Lord.
Because of course he is. because it's Fire Emblem. And that's half the thing. Like, it's part strategy RPG, part dating sim.
Mm-hmm.
That's Fire Emblem.
God, he'd be an infantry unit with the mobility of a mounted unit. He'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, pretty much. I like it. Here's a question from the Uranium Skull. Since the Witch Carters, Chaotix, and the Battle Cuckoo Armada are technically part of the classic universe, will they return in the next classic IDW Sonic comic? Also, why do we bake cookies but cook bacon? That's a question for Noni.
I hope they are available for that sort of thing. I think the classic Chaotix are off the table. Last I heard, the modern versions are considered like the versions, and classic has been kind of ignored, but things can change. And I definitely want to revisit them because I'm a glutton for Sonic stuff. Old, new, obscure, overused. I want it all. I'm going to play with all the toys. As for baking cookies and cooking bacon, it's the same reason why we drive on the parkway and park in the driveway.
Of course. Whatever reason that is.
It's because the English language is like 3 different languages stacked together in a trench coat.
that also pretty much sums up English-speaking countries' cultures. Three other cultures stacked together in a trench coat. Pretty much. Here's a question from Liam D. And our final question this week. Hello, Ian. I'm wondering, do you ever get tired of the almost constant Sonic questions?
Nah. I mean,
you can be honest. You can be honest.
Well, I mean, you guys are interested in it, clearly. I mean, we're 6 years into this, so
yeah,
that hunger shall never abate, let us hope. I hope we're entertaining in that regard and educational. So I can't really, be cranky over a constant interest and the avenue to interact with folks. It's, it does kind of fill me with an existential dread that is all I will ever be known for.
You should just embrace it. Whatever. But at this point,
I mean, at the same time, it's kind of a bit of job security, because if I ever did leave the Sonic media empire, at least I'd still have BumbleKast, because people would still be asking me questions.
Yep.
10 years from now, I'm completely irrelevant to anything Sonic related. I'm still answering questions on this show.
Well, you gotta keep yourself relevant. That's how it works with previous creators within the Sonic sphere. Keep yourself relevant. In some fashion.
And if anything, it kind of lights a fire under me to do my own stuff, so that it gets out there and I can say, look, I am Ian Flynn, creator of Drogoon or any of this other stuff, who also contributed to Sonic, and not, here's Ian. He lived and breathed Sonic for 15 years, and then he died. No, I didn't. I lived on for another 30 years, and then any relevance he had died.
No, I just prefer... no, and then he died. That's funnier. And then he died. I'm right here. Yeah, and then you're standing right there. It's like, I'm right here. But then he died. He is dead. Long live Ian Flynn. I'm right here. I'm still alive.
Not dead yet. I feel happy.
Yeah. You're gonna be one of the people who gets a fake death announcement on Twitter. You'll be like, "Oh, I died. Cool." It feels like I got better though, so it's all good.
I don't know if that ever got traction. I might just sit back and watch the obituaries. See who actually cared.
I'm gonna watch the people who didn't care, because that's gonna be the funniest. Because they're gonna be like, "Yeah, good riddance, that guy." Finally,
You start throwing parties, and then guess what? I lived, bitches.
Yeah. I like funerals where the person who died wakes up. That's my favorite kind of funeral. Because real funerals suck. But fake funerals, those are fun. Anyway, speaking of fake funerals, we're at the end. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, where did I see this? Was it like Tumblr or Reddit or something? Somebody saying that at their funeral, at their wake, they wanted Pop Goes the Weasel to play next to their casket.
Yes.
Just to build the suspense.
I love it.
That's awful, but damn it, that's funny.
Oh, I mean, what do they care? They're dead. I like it.
Well, before we get any more macabre, let's give a big thank you to the folks who make this show possible.
Yes.
Via contributions either through patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or being a YouTube member. Big thank you to Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Robotnicum, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Torchbound, Justin G., Mike B., Bradley TT, Kuplin Crew 128, Duas Disdin, Diane W., Andrew D., Scruffy Matt, Chris A., Sonny, Salute Your Cat, Dave M., John M., Off, Noni, Don B., Yami M., Sin Fritz, Lee H.K., Lisa M., J. Frost, Chevelle, Jib, Hero of Light 13, Piggybank, Blue Title Gamer, Ryan D., Tick Tick, Speedweed, Final Neil, Justin S., Jonathan D., Rachel W., Godzilla, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Dabbler the Delicate, Daniel B., Sonic, PC the Unicorn, Ben Wolfsbane, Dove, Red the Supernamic, Pan Dolce, Invade Turbo Tunis, Joe S., Preston M., Carlos, Jennifer H., Chad, Alphamon or Yukon, Michael, Chico D., Renard Pixel, Les, Chase L., Owen BD, Fire Red XY, John the Real Waluigi, Noah S., Sapphire Scarletta, Spark Z, Turbo, Crooker, Lexi Lives Jojo, Corjiro Highwind, Michi, Louis J., Xanderoni the Painter, Kimiko, Callum Q, Rad Ray, Ava Wolf, and Scurvy Pirate Hog.
Thank you to all of you for supporting us. And for anyone whose name we didn't list, thank you for listening and for enjoying the show, or for not enjoying the show. If you're a hate listener, that's cool too. You can do whatever you want. I ain't gonna stop you.
And that's gonna wrap us up. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you next week as we dive into another Patreon exclusive, not Patreon, priority Q&A episode on the BumbleKast.
Yes, we will do that. We will. I swear. It will happen. In the meantime, get out of here. We don't get questions from haters too often, really. They just make things up and make videos about it instead of actually asking. Because they assume because
triple our views, which is obnoxious.
Yeah, and then they assume that they just assume things without actually, finding out if it's true or not. But hey, whatever.
Well, no,
it's great about them.
It doesn't fit their narrative.
Well, yeah, of course. Sega, let Amy go super. Do it. I triple dog dare you. I triple hedgehog dare you. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of BumbleKing Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org. So apparently we have triggered the debate of the century in the chat with chili, whether it should have beans or no beans. I'm a diehard beans guy. Even if the person we're arguing with is someone who recently graduated from cooking school and is a culinary gourmet chef who you'd think would know better. They're saying that beans do not belong in chili. And I'm sorry, Noni, but you are wrong. You are wrong because chili without beans is literally just meat soup. And I like meat and I like soup, but I don't get it. No.
My understanding was chili is what you want. Like you can make soup and put whatever you want in it, and it's soup. Chili, you can put whatever in it, and it's chili.
Do you eat chili, Ian?
Yeah, I actually have done a pretty good batch or two.
Okay. I was wondering because you said you've never had a chili dog, so I was wondering if.
No. Just, if I go to all the trouble making chili,
you're not going to put it on a hot dog.
I want to eat the chili. No, I'd get up a nice fresh baguette, kind of use that as a bread bowl. Yeah. Temper the little bit of heat, and why interrupt it with a dog? Now, if you're gonna make a chili dog, I would argue it's better to have just the beefy kind. I feel like the beans would kind of be weird in addition to everything. But I mean, I guess I could see it working. It's already going to be a mess.
Yeah, who cares? That's the point of a chili dog. The point of a chili dog is not to be clean. So why do you think Sonic likes them? He doesn't care.
Like, I know a lot of people, cheese is a big part of the chili dog, and I am not a big fan of cheese in general.
Which is that's a very strange thing to me, because I could probably subsist on nothing but cheese, and sure I might die eventually of cheese, but it'll be worth it.
Like I need some American or cheddar on my burger, but that's about it.
I'm being told that chili is not a genre; it is a proper dish. So apparently, I whatever.
That's fine, but see, that starts to get into the realm of like kind of gatekeeping.
I know.
Look down your nose nonsense. It's like, I don't care at that point. Now, okay, fine. It's not the absolute clinical definition of chili. Okay. I ain't making it for you. I'm making it for me.
Pretty much. That's food. Food is subjective, really. And it really should be subjective.
I mean, it goes back to that old debate. Does a burger count as a sandwich?
Yeah. Does a hot dog count as a sandwich? The answer is yes to both.
But you wouldn't say a hot dog is a sandwich. That
I mean, I wouldn't say a hot dog just on its own is a sandwich, but a hot dog with bread is a sandwich. Yes.
Yeah.
Is a quesadilla a sandwich? Technically, you want to get down to it. Yeah. It's on a technical level. Yeah. Is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? Yes. It's yes.
Both us and cows are mammals, but we're not the same thing. So, all right, fine. Beans and chili is not technically chili. It's still chili to me.
Yes. Is a torta a sandwich? Literally, yes. That's the Spanish word for sandwich. Anyway, a hot dog is also a taco, and a taco is also a sandwich. Technically, at a very base level. I mean, it's just sandwich. Anyway, Laurel or Yanny, is the dress blue and black or yellow and white? I don't know. The things we argued with about in the before times.